take me through that path of, okay, made it through, the downturn, what was the other side? What did that look like for you? And then when did you get to the point of like, okay, now I really need to go and build a team and have agents around me?
Yeah, so I was partners with my mother-in-law. We were running a satellite brokerage, basically from the company she worked with in Cincinnati. We did have a few agents working within the office, but it just kind of came a point in time where like she didn't really want to manage, I didn't want to manage, and I'm like, let's just go and just sell. And so we actually ended up connecting with Coldwell Banker, which was a pretty big office in our town at that time. And we became part owners in that company. And so that was kind of that next step of a little bit of a larger office, more agents, more experienced agents, and kind of getting that different, I guess, perspective as an owner within the company. So we did that for a few years. And then eventually I started having children. She got to retirement age, like ready to finally, take that jump. And I was ready to be on my own at the time. I did feel like I got that mentorship that I was looking for those period of years. And I was, as much as I learned a lot from her, there did come a point where, we were very different in a lot of ways. It's my mother-in-law, so let's just be honest about that. B, she's my neighbor and lives across the street, and we were business partners. So there was a lot of togetherness. But there came a point where I was like, I'm ready to like figure it out on my own and kind of go in my own path. And so when I did that, I stayed with CB for a while, and I think it's so when I had my second child. So I had my first child in 2009, and it was very much all right, I stayed home with her during the day. My husband would come home and I would go do my showings and my appointments. And so it was a lot of that back and forth. Mm-hmm. And then a few years later, I had my second child and my business kept growing, but I didn't really know how or why. Mm-hmm. Or at the time I was like, something's actually happening here and I'm busy and I'm doing things, but like, I think I need to figure out like the systems and processes. Because I think this is actually a thing. And so that's when I found business coaching, and I connected with the Tom Ferry coaching company. And I can remember my first coaching call, and he was like, what CRM are you using? And I said, what's a CRM? Like, no joke. I was like, I have a spreadsheet. So that's where it really started. Okay, what are we doing? And it's kind of a weird, I think everybody kind of goes through this and like the different periods in your business, but I almost felt like I had to start all over again, because it felt like, okay, this is a business. How are we going to make this work? What are you doing next? And so really it just started with, okay, you need an assistant. And that's where it started building from there. And then from there it went into, you need a buyer's agent. Oh, and by the way, nobody here had assistants. Nobody had buyer's agents. Those weren't things you were allowed to do. And so there were some barriers there, but that's where things really started changing, because fortunately, my business was growing and I was getting busier, but now I had children and I had to figure out what that balance was. Yeah. And I couldn't continue to show homes nights and weekends 24/7. And so I had to figure out what help I could kind of bring in and start leveraging more to maintain the business and still have a personal life with my family. Yeah. It became very challenging. I guess I'm also very, it's hard to say no. I'm not going to lie. Everyone's always like, oh, that can wait, or it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But it's hard. It is for me. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I think what you did there, one, I'm a big believer. I love helping agents get into the business, but I've always had coaching from day one of my career. So, I believe that we all need a mentor. We all need coaching. I was fortunate that I had it early on. So like I always had a CRM, right? I always had, scripts and all those things. But I think, with you getting with the Mike Ferry organization, it turned your real estate career from having a job to actually running a business.
100%. And I say that now today, like to me, that's the biggest thing I would tell people of. I wish I would have had coaching from day one. Yeah. And honestly, at the time, we talked about it, but like, that's an expense, right? And so, but now having gone through it, I'm like, it doesn't matter what it costs. It's 100% worth it.
Yeah. I challenge agents, right, with some of that stuff. Like, instead of saying expense, it's an investment.
Absolutely.
Right? Like,
really.
And I challenge agents too. It's like, not every coach is going to be there to increase your production, by 7 transactions or 20 or double your transactions, right? It's like you may need that for different stages of your career, but I always tell people, like, what do you want from a coach, right? Like for me, I don't need someone to show me how to get to 500 transactions. I know how to get there, right? I don't need the systems. What I need is someone to bounce an idea off of. I need someone connection, right? So like their circle, I want to be in their circle so that way I can be around other people across the country that are, in the circle. And so I think sometimes agents get confused on what a coach is there to do. And I think there's different coaches for different stages of where you're at in your business. And I think a lot of times agents just think, oh, I'm going to hire a coach and my production's going to double.
You still have to do the work.
Well, you still have to do the work, but it's like at the end of the day, like I always tell we all know what we need to do to increase our production.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's someone holding you accountable, right? Like I don't have a boss. I don't have somebody I have to report to at 9 a.m. every day. So having that to me is huge. So yeah, and getting into coaching and starting to build systems and adding people in, which by the way was also super scary because as I said, I probably wasn't running things like a business, right? And so I'm like, oh, I'm going to hire somebody and like maybe part-time. I don't know. Can I afford this? Like all of those things. And then quickly realize within the first 2 days, oh, clearly there's more than full-time work to be done here with adding people. So that's where the whole team started building over time and not even realizing that I was building a team or that was going to be like the goal, I guess. Because when I first got my license, I just assumed, well, I guess the next step is to become a broker at some point. Like, I guess that's what I'm supposed to do. And then quickly realized that's not what I would like to do. I admire those that are brokers. There's a lot that goes into that. And that wasn't something that I felt I could commit to.